This is the Lincoln Journal-Star editorial board interview with GOP gubernatorial candidate Jim Pillen. Jim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with everybody. Thanks for taking the time.
Before we start peppering you with our questions, we'll have our editorial board members introduce themselves. Robin, you want to start?
I'm Robin Eschliman, president of Eschliman Commercial Real Estate and host of the Grow Lincoln Economic Development Show.
Ava?
Nice.
Good morning. I'm Ava Thomas, president of the Lincoln Journal-Star.
Morning, Ava.
Hi, Jim.
And Kent.
Hey, Jim, I'm Kent Walgamot. I write about arts and entertainment, and I've been on the editorial board for 12 years, and I believe we've had at least one of these discussions before.
I think so.
All right. Well, Jim, the first question is a way for you to introduce yourself. You're no stranger to elected office, and so you know what it entails. You know the pains and the joys of it, particularly most recently as a regent. So why do you want to be the governor of Nebraska? And then what experiences and attributes do you have that particularly suit you for the office and have prepared you for it?
Yeah, well, I think that maybe the first step is I've enjoyed being a part of community and state. I've lived in Nebraska my entire life, raised our family here. 10 years ago, and I don't know, Kent, if that's when, but 10 years ago, I ran for the Board of Regents, and I'm in my second term. I believe in public service, not politics. I believe that you step out and you can make a difference. Things happen in life, and I would say that never ever had the idea or thought, but you know, in the state of Nebraska, a lot of extraordinary things took place. Gosh, starting with the floods, we had extraordinary challenges with roads. We had extraordinary challenges where people's homes had pink tape around them and said they can't live in them, and you know, we all just had to roll our sleeves up and come together and figure out, you know, how do we get through this? The pandemic was unspeakable for everybody, probably more so for us in ag, where we had to keep the food chain alive and deal with a lot of issues. And so there were a number of things that came together, and that as this process took place, and different calls and encouragement and discernment, that you know, it was a calling that we needed to step up. You know, Suzanne and I have been incredibly blessed. Everything we have that's happened to us in our life is because of the people in Nebraska, and we love the state of Nebraska, and stepping up to make it better for our kids and grandkids.
So what about your personality? What about the kind of person that you are that suits you to do a hard job here? Yeah,
well, I think that I am who I am because I've been blessed to be around a lot of extraordinary people in my life. Started with my parents. Mom and dad were tenant farmers. You know, it was, you know, in the 60s, tenant farming before irrigation. It was pretty lean cuisine. Our house didn't have paint on it. The plaster walls, when they would crack and fall off and you'd see the wooden lats, my mom was a seamstress. She made home by putting the wall with curtains. And so we hit it out of the jackpot there. I'm the youngest of three boys, so we learned about faith. We learned about family. I grew up in the end of a scoop shovel and pitchfork. And learned the value of hard work and learned the value of a dollar. And so I think that my life, I had the dream to be a veterinarian. I had the dream to play football. I got to be around Coach Osborne. And, you know, I think in this, I love people. I'm passionate, I'm competitive, and persevere and have grit and determination. And we've been incredibly blessed. Experience matters. So we've grown our business from starting out as a single practitioner and getting into the livestock business. We started with 4 people, and we've grown that business to over 1,000 Nebraska jobs. We got in the genetics business 20 years ago. The pig genetics business is it's competitive, and it's we don't brag in Nebraska very much, but I'll share it just because I think experience matters. In the pig genetics business, every supplier in North America has either gone broke or been bought up. We're the longest held genetic supplier in North America. And, we've grown that business to about 45% market share in North America, creating another 250 jobs. How'd that happen? All because of Nebraska people. And then recently, in the last 5 years, our family went together with 200 other families. Hormel Foods, large organization that I use the word holy guacamole to describe them. They've changed their focus. They own Holy Guacamole, sell Spam all over the world. They've become a global branded food company and wanted out of the processing business. So we went together with 200 other families, bought the old Hormel plant in Fremont. We are building a brand new plant all the way around it without ever losing a day of profit. So we've made significant investments, and that'll create another, when we're finished next year, making it a double shift plant. More opportunity for Nebraska, more opportunity with in the end, we're at about 1,000 jobs there now, and it'll be 1,500 when we're finished. So, those are things that take perseverance, take great people. And that's been what my life is. And that's where I think experience matters.
All right. Well, Jim, I'd like it to be publicly known that I didn't jump on the obvious joke about the scoop, shovel, and pitchfork thing qualifying you for government service.
Hey, I can still pitch and scoop with anybody.
All right. So
You couldn't resist. You just could not resist.
I know. I'm sorry, Ava. I'll probably have to answer for this one later when we talk. So the second question for you, Jim, there are some issues, regarding education, public health, land use, where local control and state control kind of are having some tension right now. What's your philosophy as far as local control versus state control? Where should the state step in? Where should the state step back? As governor, how do you see that dynamic playing out?
Yeah, so fundamentally, I believe in getting government out of the way. And so I'm about local control. I believe all healthcare is local. I believe that all major decisions should be done locally, and that the state should be should not be involved in a lot of those decisions. We need to remove state so that communities can solve their problems, because each area is a little bit different. And so I'm a believer in local control.
All right. Next question. The bill failed. I guess it'd be the sort of the criminal justice reform initiatives failed. It doesn't look like we've had a lot of movement on solving the corrections crisis in this legislative session. What would be your priorities, your solutions that you'd want to pursue in reducing prison overcrowding and dealing with the associated issues there?
Yeah, well, I think that with our announcement this week of choosing Joe Kelly as my running mate, I think that anybody that knows the work that Joe Kelly has done as a public servant in his 30 plus years career, he's a man of incredible integrity and character, and has done extraordinary work to keep Nebraskans safe, and believes in the system as I do, and believes in law and order and supporting the police and the sheriffs and state patrol, and believes that when people do wrong, they need to be held accountable. So I'm a believer that there's a couple things that need to take place. Number one, and Joe's taught me this years and years and years ago, that we have to be successful to make sure every child in Nebraska becomes proficient at reading in second and third grade, because that leads to lots of incarceration. Number two, obviously, drugs and mental health are issues that we have to do better at, so that we can solve the problem 20 years from now. That'll take care of that. But today, I'm a believer that we need to have more resources, so that people who have committed crimes have the ability to be rehabilitated and come back and become productive citizens. The state prison issue has been kicked down the road way too many years. I believe there needs to be an investment in it.
All right, well, it looked like we have some movement on tax reform. I'm sure that it won't be the end of the conversation. So if you're governor, as the conversation around tax reform continues, where would you like to see the state go?
Yeah, well, I think that I do believe that we spend too much money, and that we are taxed too high compared to our neighbors. And I've spoken tirelessly for the past year that it's all about our kids and keeping our kids here. And we have to create an environment that makes us competitive to do that. So I'm a believer that we have to have transformative change. This issue has just been Band-Aid by Band-Aid. And so the first step would be the question to have attitudinal change. And so this is a question I'm asking across the state, and it's really, really fascinating. And when I'm your governor, you'll hear me, because to get transformative change, I believe we need to have an attitudinal change. So here's the question for you. I'll call you guys, I'm assuming all Lincoln. I'll just call you Lincoln for this morning. What's more important to you, Lincoln or Nebraska? And as I ask this question across the state, I'm telling you what, it's a fascinating, fascinating conversation. And it's really, really important that we first get us all to be Nebraska. Hey, I'm a lifetime Platte County guy, but we have to give up a little bit so that we all get on the team of the greater good of Nebraska. And then we can come together to have change, so that we are competitive with our neighbors, and so that we create the environment for our kids to be successful, and that we can grow the state.
All right. Next question is about elections. First of all, are elections safe? Do you have any concerns or an interest in ongoing investigation of the 2020 election in Nebraska? And then do you support changes to our election procedures? And if so, how do you ensure that those changes don't make it harder for anyone to vote?
Yeah, well, I think that we all agree that we live in the greatest country in the world, and that our democracy is sacred and really, really important. And I think that we agree that having a fair elected process is the key to our democracy. So, you know, it's the 21st century. I'm a proponent of looking ahead and always trying to make things better. As we go to voter machines and we use technology, it's important that is secure. I don't know, we've experienced a cyber attack in our business. Those are challenges. So we need to make sure that we have a secure election. I'm certainly a proponent of something really, really simple. I'm a proponent of the voter ID. For Nebraska, we have to show who we are to do about anything. I think that is a real good step in the right direction.
All right. There's been talk in the legislature, I think it's sort of behind us now, about the legislature becoming nonpartisan. As governor, you work very closely with legislators. Do you believe that the legislature should remain nonpartisan? And if so, how do you help it be more nonpartisan? And if not, how would you handle a partisan legislature?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's important in the unicameral system that we're Nebraskans, and I think that it's today called partisan, but the reality is it's not. And I think that it's really important that we focus on things that we can have alignment with, and that we can focus on the key things that are most important for Nebraska, and that we bring people together to have change so that we create the best environment for our kids in the future. So it's really, really important as governor to work with all members of the unicameral and develop relationships and try to find a common ground.
All right, Jim, you are a very efficient answerer of questions. So I've gotten through.
That's hard to believe.
I've gotten through all of mine except for the last one that I asked, and I have to ask it last, and I can't let Kent try to sneak one in under the wire. But Ava, Robin, Kent, do you guys have anything? I know Kent does, and Robin usually does too.
Shall I go?
I guess so.
I got a couple. First one, I'm interested in your thoughts on water policy in general, and specifically about the canal on the South Platte and the Big Lake, and how those would fit in to dealing with the only real great natural resource that Nebraska has.
Yeah, Ken, that's a really, really important topic and a really big issue. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember when Title 130 became law. And there are a lot of folks at the time of the greatest generation, my father's generation, weren't real crazy about that. Hardcore reality, Title 130 is the most stringent environmental law in the country by state to protect our waters and our surface waters. And it's been an awesome law 50 years later because it's helped every farmer and rancher become more proficient and make more money and protect our Ogallala aquifer. So number one, our Ogallala aquifer is a pot of gold. We have to protect the Ogallala aquifer and our water in Nebraska with everything we have. Our people are our greatest resource, our waters are second. And the 5 agroecological zones in our state makes water very, very complicated. We're an incredibly unique state. I mean, think of this, from the Missouri River to the Atlantic, there's only 4 zones. We have 5 within our state. So water's a big deal. It's our future. I could go on and on about how agriculture has changed and how our state has changed because of that. But to get specific, I think we need to protect that, and then all of our surface water. So I'm a proponent of the Perkins Canal system to get the surface waters that we haven't collected for the last 100 years. That's an investment that I think is a big deal. I will tell you that I've been on the run hard, and I have not had the opportunity to really dive deep into the Star Wars program. Today, I don't have a good enough grasp to understand if that return, if that investment makes sense. Getting the surface waters from Colorado that has been due us, that one does.
As Ava would tell you, I could talk about water all day, but I'll let that one go. And I've got one more. What is your thought on property tax reform or whatever, and specifically the TIOSA formula, given that that's where most of the property tax goes, is to education?
I've really worked hard to try to find people this past year that can explain TIOSA in a something for a normal guy to understand, and I've not been able to find that. And I would just tell you this: I believe the school funding, I'm about education, but we have to have the school funding reform. When you think about this, I've been in over, I think we're closing in on 350 events speaking to Nebraskans across the state this last year. When people talk about 240 school districts and 157 get no ounce of state equalization aid, it's just so un-Nebraskan and not fair. We have to move it. We have to move it from systems to per student basis. I think that's a big deal.
All right, Robin, do you have anything?
I do have a question. This week's unemployment numbers in Nebraska, they shift every week, but it's 24,370, but we have 53,000 positions available right now. And the two biggest categories are healthcare and service. If we were going to be really honest with ourselves, we have not been healthcare friendly the last 2 years. The service sector is really hard hit, everything from retail stores. We have a $10 million meat production plant that just went on the market in Lincoln this week, but I don't really know where they would find workers if they found a buyer for that. Given that those two categories are particularly problematic, what would your solutions be that you would suggest?
Yeah, well, I think that I can tell you, I was chair of our chamber in our Columbus chamber in 06 or 07. And I think at that time we had identified in Platte County, we were 500 people short of jobs. So we started what we called a Drive for Five, and where we were reaching out and going to communities, whether it was Michigan or whatever, to try to attract people to come to Nebraska. It's bared mixed results. I've been speaking about it for a year. It's our kids. We have to stop the out migration, and we have to start doing business better. To use a farmer cliche, our grass is incredibly green on this side of the fence, and we've got to stop the out migration. We've been losing way too many kids. And as I ask people that have moved here, what do you love the most about Nebraska? People, it's 100%. They don't take a breath. It's the people. And yet, guess who loves our kids the most in Nebraska? Everybody outside of the state, because we've been losing all of our kids. We have to scholarship our kids, and we have to get all of our kids trained. We have to stop the out migration. That's not government's job. That's business, farmers, and ranchers coming together. I'll work tirelessly to make that. And there's embryonic examples of doing that. We need to get our kids in trade schools. We need to scholarship the best kids here and internship of them, and then have them do a service academy, a commitment to our business. We have to incentivize for healthcare. All healthcare is local. We have to have incentivization for people, for young people, to make sure that they help fill the needs where the market doesn't.
I have one more question for you if you have time.
I'm good.
Are we out of time?
No, we're good.
Okay.
No, we're fine.
And this goes back to an earlier question about the elections. I know that question was more about the past, but I want to ask it a different way about the future. The last two presidential elections that we've had have discussed issues such as the Russians stealing elections or the Democrats stealing elections. So now that we're two in a row, it's in the water. If it's still in the water in 2024 to doubt election validity, do you have a plan of what you are going to say or do if your favorite donor or your favorite presidential candidate or your political party comes to you and asks you to not certify the election and to try to get state legislatures on board behind you to stop it?
I guess all I can tell you is I'm not good at speculating all the circumstances. All I know is I'm Jim Pillen. It doesn't matter to me who a donor. I don't know anybody anything, and I'm going to do the best under the set of circumstances to make the best decisions at the time. I love this state. I love the people of this state, and going to do the best we can to make the best decisions with the information you have at the time.
All right. Ava, do you have anything before my last question?
Sure, just a couple of things. Jim, I want to make sure I was clear. You are in favor of building a new prison, correct? Did I hear you correctly?
Yes,
Okay. Does your business or will your business employ formerly incarcerated individuals?
that have had a criminal history. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yes.
Last question here. So thinking about your decade as a regent, if I asked you or gave you one do-over or an opportunity to discuss with the edit board, a misstep, something you do over, do you have one?
It's a, it's a good question. I'm just trying to think through a lot of activity and a lot of activity in 10 years. I'm really proud of making sure that we as a university, as a school of access for all kids, we have some. I'm really proud of the learning communities and the improvement of the success rate of the first year students. Really proud of saying, hey, we have to keep tuition down so that we are a school of access, and really proud that we're not going to change things so that we would move up in the ratings. We're for Nebraska, so there's always a multitude of things you can always do better. So I don't think I probably have time to go through all that, but I'm proud of the impact and the work and that we have. And is the university perfect? No, but it is the people of Nebraska's, and I think that that's what probably could work harder. Could have spent more energy on things. I've given the best I can, but I'm probably, my brain says, Ava, I can always do better.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, Jim, the last question we've got for you is, what didn't we ask you that you really wish we had?
Oh gosh, I think that maybe I'll just leave it with. I think I'll leave it with. I've experienced matters. I spent my life in Nebraska, across the state. I will tell you, here's probably what I'd like you to know, that if anybody is thinking if anybody's thinking that the world's coming apart, I wish you'd have been with me this last year as I've been across the entire state in 340 plus meet and greets and meetings. And I think I've been in 10 different forums with other candidates. And all I can tell you is we live in an incredibly special place. Are we perfect in Nebraska? No, but I'm telling you what, because of the people of Nebraska, we have a really bright future. As I love to say, I think it's always important that we have the gift of appreciation and not take things for granted. And there's no place like Nebraska, right? So I appreciate the chance to visit with all of you.
All right, well, thank you, Jim. And I have to say, as soon as Kent said that water was our most important resource, I thought to myself, I wonder if Jim's going to say, no, it's people. And you don't let me down. So, all right. Well, Jim, thank you very much for spending time with our editorial board. We appreciate it very much. And we wish you the best. And we're grateful for all those who serve publicly and all those who stick their neck out to want to serve publicly. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You guys have a great day. Thank you.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.